There you go.
Okay. Good morning. It is June 5th, and we have a really exciting thing to talk about today. There's some breaking news in the mortgage and real estate world. And so I guess firstly, I am Michelle McFarland with Exit Realty Group in Belleville, the most referred realtor, and I'm here with Sandra.
Hi, I'm Sandra Brown with Mortgage Alliance. I'm a mortgage agent, and I help people get mortgages together. And we're here to talk about the exciting or not so exciting news coming from CMHC and how it's going to affect you on the mortgage side as well as on the real estate side. Does that sound about right, Michelle?
Yeah. I'm not in your world, just like you're not in my world all the time. So, this breaking news is something I know nothing about. So I'm very excited to pick your brain about this.
So as of July 1, CMHC has determined that anybody with less than 20% down, which is called an insured mortgage, will now need a credit score of 680. Ooh. And if there's two people on the deal, one of them has to have a 680 and the other one has to have a minimum of 600 credit score.
Wow. And what was it supposed to be before?
So before they would allow, and it depends on every customer because it's specific to the customer, right? They would allow credit scores at 650, 600, 650, 640, okay. Or they'd average them out. But the reality is there's going to be single buyers who may have a 650 score, which is not a horrible thing. It just maybe at that time, at that place in time, something happened in their life that their score is not over the 680. Well, those people won't qualify.
Okay.
Because they don't have a secondary borrower that has a 680 credit score.
Right. Okay. So does this mean anybody with a score less than 600 and 680, or somebody with a score less than 680 can't get an insured mortgage?
It's going to be very tough for them for sure. So it depends. Now, is it going to be, are they the only person on the application? Because if they're the only person on the application, the new guideline says 680.
Okay.
It doesn't mean it's an absolutely hard stop, but it does mean that really it is going to be a hard stop. They're saying no.
Okay. So if the case is that they don't have a score of 680, does this mean that secondary lenders and do you guys call them B lenders? Would that make a difference, being able to work with somebody in a different lending position, I guess?
Absolutely. So then again, you need 20% down in order to go what's called to a B lender, 20% plus down, depending on the property, depending on you as a customer. So it's all about you. And it's really the easiest thing to know whether or not you're going to qualify is to call me, the mortgage person, and ask them questions. Because to say that it's going to apply to every single person, no.
Right.
Because sometimes there is going to be, I hate to use the word loopholes, but there may be some exceptions made because sometimes people are getting in out of bad relationships and their credit is not a true reflection of who they are at that time, right? So I'm not saying that they're going to allow it to happen. I'm saying we got to look at the whole picture before we jump in. But as they have it on paper, if you don't have a credit score of 680, you're not going to get qualified.
Okay, so that is only, I'm just going to clarify. So this is only for people who are not putting 20% down.
That's right. So less than 20% down.
Okay, so if somebody is putting more than 20% down, their credit score does not have to meet that requirement of 680?
They're a B lender mostly. So usually what happens, there's two types of people, okay? So there's the people that are an insured mortgage, meaning they have less than 20% down. And then anybody else who has what they call insurable mortgages. And sometimes they need to be able to qualify under those same rules for specific reasons.
Okay.
Right? So it's again, the best answer. This is just a very brief outline of what this means. This is not the hard, fast rule. The best answer for them is for them to call me, Sandra Brown, 613-933-3339. I think I said that too fast.
Yeah, I was going to say, slow that down.
Too much coffee. But what it is one person on a file is more likely not going to get approved when there's two, because when there's two on the file, that one person could have a 600 credit score, but their partner could have a 680 score. So now they would get approved.
So there's an average that's done with two people?
It's not an average. They're saying one of the applicant has to have a credit score of 680 or higher.
Okay.
So
And
not
then
an
the other one
average.
has to have 600 or higher?
Yeah. 600 or higher. Anything less than that, you cannot come in with less than 20% down.
Okay, so this is going to change things for some people. Now, I just have one other question before we maybe look at what could be good coming from this. So anybody right now, so I'm working with a good handful of people right now that are already pre-qualified, they're already looking at homes. So if I don't find them a home by July 1st, does this mean that they have to pre-qualify?
Absolutely, because the rules have changed. And keep in mind, that's just one of the rules that just changed with this new guideline. The second one is, it's called a total debt servicing and gross debt servicing ratio.
Right.
Before,
okay.
they would allow 39 gross debt, which gross debt means your property tax, your principal, interest, and your heating costs.
Okay.
So they get that of your income is this. And then your total debt is all your debts, including your credit cards and your car payments and those type of debts.
Okay.
Used to be 39 for GDS, 44 for TDS. Well, they've decided now that the maximum you can use is 35 and 42. So there's going to be people that won't qualify because those numbers aren't going to work for them.
Okay.
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 Another rule is borrowed down payment.
Okay.
Allow it. So up to this point, they allowed borrowed down payment on insured mortgages. Well,
okay.
not going to allow that anymore.
Okay. So we can't get outside lenders who are willing to fund the down payment portion of that, as
because currently we do have some lenders that will lend you if it fits in your ratios, as we call it in the mortgage world, they will allow a borrowed down payment.
Okay.
So as of July 1, the rules, unless they changed them between now and then, says no borrowed down payments.
So, okay. So no borrowed down payment for less than 20%. So does that mean that these people can lend them 21%? Not that they're probably willing to do that, but.
No, because now it's not an insured mortgage.
Okay.
Yeah. And even the borrowed down payment was not something that happened very easily before. It had to be somebody who was long-term on the job and just had a good, the only problem they had at that point was the borrowed down payment, the down payment portion. So this is going to take away that. So, and there's a couple other little glitches, but those are the ones that are mostly going to impact your customers. The good thing is if there's less people who qualify, what does that mean, Michelle?
Yay, it means I don't have to have 15 other offers that I'm dealing with in one transaction. Like the last 2 weeks that I've been dealing with.
Yeah. So your customers,
competition.
Your customers will have a lot less. Your customers will have a lot less competition, right?
Right. Which is, I mean, essentially good for buyers, because right now at this point, I know personally, my buyers are getting extremely frustrated, and it's. I mean, it is what it is, but it's still disheartening when, you know, you're going in at your best price and someone still beats you by $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, and you're thinking, is that house really worth that?
Oh yes, and from what my customers are telling me, I have customers saying, "Oh, I'm not putting a condition of finance," which is really high risk, because you could win the bid, and tell me that offer that you made is a contract, right, Michelle?
Yes, it's 100%. Like, you are bound to that contract when you sign on that line.
So if you don't have condition of finance and now your mortgage person says you no longer qualify for a mortgage, you're
legally
house,
obligated
right?
to that home at that point. So you better hope that there was 15 other people behind you wanting that house, that, you know, they'll let it slide and go on to the next people. But otherwise, legally, I mean, you're bound to that contract.
Yeah, and so for me on the mortgage side, that's always a concern, because I want to protect the customer and say, listen, you got to realize that you own that house if you have no conditions of finance.
Yeah.
And everything.
Yeah, and even if I mean, I always tell my clients to put condition of finance unless they're millionaires and can pay cash, which never happens. But I mean, even like with the home inspection condition and stuff like that, like those are very, very important conditions, and I mean, they're there to protect you as a buyer. So I think it's silly that buyers are not taking advantage of being able to put those in. But I mean, I do realize that when you're going up against 13, 14 plus people, I mean, it's very intimidating. And when you're completely in love with a home, you really want it and you'll do whatever you can. But in the grand scheme of things, you need to be smart in the sense of what you're choosing to take out of the conditions and keep in.
The downside to these new rules is it is going to affect our first-time home buyers, our young people coming in.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I mean, here in Belleville, in the Quinte and surrounding areas, essentially you can't get a $200,000 home that doesn't need a ton of work, like a ton of work. So I mean, when we talk about most first-time home buyers being, you know, the millennials, they would prefer it to be a move-in ready home, essentially, right, with very minimal things that they want to do. And unfortunately, unless you're 350 or above, you're not going to get that. Like if your budget's not 350 plus, then unfortunately you're going to have to give or take off your wants and needs list.
However, again, the pro here, if we have this, actually it's not a pro, it's kind of a sad thing, because with this whole situation with the COVID and people losing their jobs, that's a real thing. There's going to be more houses on the market. So that could change things. And we talked doom and gloom today.
Yep.
6 months, it may not be doom and gloom.
Right.
Once the market settles down and we start realizing that, hey, wait a second, it wasn't as bad of a hit, or it was.
Right. I do believe that I don't know if it was the Canadian Real Estate Association. I haven't actually read the articles yet, but I've had a couple clients approach me and saying, it looks like home prices are going to drop 18%. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, I mean, it's still a very competitive market. So, I mean, people are still willing to pay over asking because there are so many buyers at this point and just not enough homes to buy.
Well, and that was a CMHC prediction. He was in the parliament talking about that.
Oh, okay.
Because of all the deferred payments, everybody's deferring their mortgage payments. Their concern is that after that period is over and everybody's back to work, how many are going to default on their mortgages? Because some of these people are not going to get their jobs back.
Right.
However, with COVID-19, there's also been an increase in job market, I would think, as well, because there's new markets out there, like companies that are making face masks, for example. So I think we have to look at the big picture and try not to be doom and gloom all the time, because everything happens for a reason.
Oh, definitely. And I think essentially, you know, this would be good because, I mean, people are going beyond their means anyways, which is why that rule came into play, the stress test came into play, right? Because people were going beyond their means and they were buying homes that they essentially couldn't afford. So again, now the government's cutting back again to ensure that, you know, it's not, they're taking more precautions with making sure that people are buying within their means, I would think.
Well, as you're discussing, Michelle, it's 26 people putting an offer on a house, 15 people putting an offer on one house. So maybe this is going to help slow down the market.
I kind of hope so. I mean, I can give you an example. This home, this was about 3 weeks ago, a home in Napanee that I had clients bid on, and there was, I think there was 11 of us or 13, I can't remember. But anyways, the home was listed for $319,900. It was like 70s style, like old shag carpet. I mean, like the stove in the kitchen, I think my grandfather probably had in his kitchen. Like it was the old style stove. And I mean, solid house, 100%. Tons of square footage, amazing lot, but it went for $375,000. Like,
wow.
I mean, it still needed so much updating, so much work, but I mean, obviously, if someone's willing to pay that, then, you know what I mean?
And you know, I think what's shocking here for us in Eastern Ontario is we're not used to this, especially along the Seaway. We're used to, yes, there's an increase in pricing and stuff like that, but not to the extremes and not the 17 and 25 offers.
Yeah. I mean, in the last 2 years, we have seen an increase in multiple offers, and in those types of situations. But when I started in 2014, it definitely was not like this.
Yeah. So there could be a rainbow in these new rules. However, if you're somebody who has tight scenarios, maybe their credit needs some repairs, or they need help in understanding how to do this so they can increase their credit score and reduce their debt ratios, call.
Yes. Now, with the credit score being a huge factor in this new these new rules, maybe that's something we can talk about next. Is how can people increase their credit score? What should they do? What shouldn't they do? And maybe that'll be something to come for the next one.
It sounds like a great plan. Okay. How are we doing for time?
I'm not sure. Hopefully, we've still got you here with us, but. If you do ever have any real estate questions, you want to know what you need to do to buy a house, first of all, obviously you need to know if you can get a mortgage, so you need to talk to Sandra. And then myself, obviously I can help you with the real estate transaction part of it. I will hopefully be able to put our information below. If not, I will definitely have it available to you. You can reach me on my cell, 613-885-4361. You can email strikesold@gmail.com. Text or call is the best way to reach me. And Sandra, how can
Hey, and just to be clear, Michelle not only works with buyers, but she sells houses too. She didn't clarify that.
Okay, yeah, I do that too.
So before you list your house,
yes.
give her a call. She can tell you what you need to do to get the best price for your house.
Oh yes, my list ready theory. I have an ebook coming out I'm very excited about.
Congratulations. Yes. So, and if you have any mortgage questions, you're going to call me, Sandra Brown, and I'll say this nice and slow, 613-933-3339.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks guys for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Take care.
Have a great day.